I'm David Smith, and it's a busy time up here as people try to sort out exactly what the proposals have been and where they're going to be going with them for this new budget to try and take care of the deficit. We're pleased to have Gail Lavielle with us. She is representing the folks in Wilton and Norwalk, Republican of the 143rd.
That's right.
District. It's nice to have you here, Gail.
It's very nice to be here, David. Thank you for having me.
This has been an exciting day all the way around as people have borne out by the governor's own words what has been kind of parceled out in the media in lots of different ways. Were there any surprises to what the governor has suggested to you?
Well, I think, we've all been very anxious to get to work because we have a huge annual deficit for the foreseeable future, really, for $3.5 billion and above. And there's only two ways you can address that, really: cutting spending or raising taxes. And I think what has been the biggest surprise for my constituents and for me and everybody is that there were no really clear spending cuts. What we saw was spending increasing the first year, this next budget year, by about $400 million, and then the second year by about $500 million. That's a total of almost $1 billion in spending increases over a two-year period. And that's a very surprising way to address a deficit.
Well, now to throw that into some perspective, of course, taxes are also going up.
Yes,
and people
they
would
are.
say that will cover that scenario, and yet we are in such a deep hole. A lot of people, R's and D's alike, are saying, where are the spending cuts to really make an impact in this deficit?
Well, that's right.
And where would you see them coming if you were to take a look and see what would be a tolerable place or series of places, because it's not going to be one place by any means?
Certainly not. I would say that one of the things that we have yet to see is what the governor will manage to gain in concessions from the state employee unions.
All right, if it's his proposed $1 billion a year for 2 years, it's $2 billion.
It's still not going to cover the 3.5 annual deficit. Even if you added that to the tax increases of $1.7 billion per year, you're only at 2.7 annually. You still got about another $1 billion to go.
Right.
And
and more if you want to look forward a lot and really do a job on the deficit.
Absolutely. I mean, we're looking at quite a hole, and if you take into account the unfunded pension liabilities and other post-retirement
we can't
benefits,
even think about going there. That's
already another can of worms. But for the past 3 or 4 years, actually, the House and Senate Republicans have been proposing a whole series of cuts, like consolidations. The governor has proposed a few, but they seem to be just consolidations, not spending cuts in government agencies. Mm-hmm. I don't see any asset sales. I don't see any moving some of the government services to the private sector. All of those things we have been proposing for the past 3 or 4 years, and we don't really see any of that coming out in this budget. Also, when the governor talked about the number of employees who are working for the state, said about 45 or 50,000, something like that, how many might perhaps either not work for the government anymore by attrition, or go to the private sector or something, or not work for the state, period. There were about 150, he said. 150 out of 45,000.
Another point that's been raised by some of your colleagues is that these tax increases are not just going to be on certain sectors as they might have been in the past, or one area is getting hit and so forth. There are a series of small but day-to-day meaningful taxes on people right along the way.
It's every single thing that we spend money on in the state of Connecticut.
We are unfortunately caught behind the time 8 ball again, but I will look forward to chatting with you as this process goes on, because this is not going to be solved this week by any means.
No, we certainly wish it could be.
Yeah, we all wish it could be.
But I'm afraid we're not in for that scenario.
We thank you very much for
stopping by.
Thank you so much,
David.
A real pleasure. Gail Lavielle with us. We have